guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. We are so happy you found us. I'm Lisa and this is Creativity and Inspiration. How was your 4th? I hope you had a great holiday. I was busy. I'm still unpacking my house. I was out planting flowers in my flower bed. So I've been extremely busy, which is why I'm still not really on a schedule of videos yet. But that's okay. And I have a huge announcement coming. Hopefully, today's Tuesday. See, I'm off this week already because I want to post on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. But this week it looks like it might be Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then we'll get back on track next week, which is fine. Got to be flexible. I've learned that. Having CRPS, if I have a migraine, I miss. So just be patient with me because new videos are planned from now until the end of the year. Plus, like I said, I have a huge announcement on Thursday, so stay tuned for that. But today we are talking about how to age or make papers look vintage. And I know everybody's going, but we know how to coffee dye. Well, I've got some other tricks because I know there's a lot of you out there that aren't comfortable using coffee or food-based products to age or vintagify your papers. You're just not. Maybe you're a scrapbooker and everything is acid-free and archival. You want it to last forever. And if you put coffee on something, you know, it's going to break down because coffee and tea, I think they're acidic and they're food products. There could be bugs, all that. So I know everybody's like, okay, so what do you got? Well, here's what we're doing. We're going to talk about how to age some index cards and other papers. These are dictionary pages. We've done notebook paper, everything before. And I'll link the video above where I talk about how to coffee dye papers because it's still the same, okay? The thing is now though, with prices being so high, when you go to coffee dye, this is a tip. If you have somebody in your house that drinks coffee but never finishes their full cup of coffee each morning, have them make their coffee in 1 cup, pour it into another cup to drink, you know, pour half into a cup to drink, and then if they want the other half, then heat it up and go back. Okay, but if they're known for leaving half a cup, get them to pour half a cup into a different cup. And then you have that cold, old coffee with nobody's germs in it to dip your coffee. And you can add those into a bowl, and then when you have enough to do a bunch of papers, you can coffee dye. So that's my money-saving tip. Get your coffee drinker, if they don't drink their whole cup of coffee, to make coffee in 1 cup, pour their drink into another, and then you have what's left in the other cup. It just makes dollars and cents wise, money-wise right now. If not, don't use, if you have coffee drinkers, don't use their coffee to coffee dye. Go buy an inexpensive coffee or instant coffee. That's the most inexpensive to do coffee dyeing with, and that'll save you some money as well. Okay, so besides coffee dyeing, what can you do? Because look how great these look. And they do look great, and coffee dyeing doesn't bother me because I look at these journals like, yeah, I'm going to keep them, but am I going to keep them forever? No. So, and I really like the look, the sound of the coffee dyed, tea dyed on any type of paper. But what if, like I said, you're in that group, you just can't do it. You just can't bring yourself to do it. What can you do? Well, I'm going to give you 3 other options to age or vintagify your papers that is simple, easy, and not food related. So let's just get into this video. Okay, guys. So some other ways to create this great vintage look that I did with coffee. Of course, it's tea, but okay, guys, some great ways to create this great vintage look, this vintagified paper or aged paper look, besides using a food-based product like coffee or tea, is to use inks. And you can find many, many different colored inks in different shades of browns, tans, like that. I like to use for my aging, I like to use the Tim Holtz Distress Acid Free, and this is in tea dye color, which is perfect because I get that look without actually using a food product. And what you would do, let me grab an index card here. What you would do is you would simply get something to apply the ink to your paper, right? And this is an actual coffee dye, and you just kind of go around the edges, and then you just kind of rub it on the index card too. I love this method. Like I said, it takes away the food, so if I don't want to use a food-based product, this is actually a great way to give it an aged look. And you just keep rubbing the ink on till you get the age you want. But you can see it looks very similar, and if I kept going, I could get a solid index card with ink just like I did with the coffee. Okay? Besides ink, if you don't want to do ink because maybe it is expensive and we use ink for so many other things, to rub it on a whole sheet of paper or something can get kind of pricey. So I learned this trick a long time ago. Use shoe polish, and I learned this from Crafty Irina. Gosh, it was a lot of years ago now, but this was her idea, and it's such a great idea. And all you do is get some shoe polish in whatever color you want. This is in brown, and I don't know, and you open it, and then you just, again, you apply it the same way with your little pad, and you just, get it on your pad, and you can get it on your pad there, and you can see it on here. It's the darker part, and you just kind of rub it around. Now this is going to be kind of heavier than our ink, right? Because you get more on, but you can spread it out, and there you get an age too. Or if you don't want to do the center, it's great for doing your edges. You get a nice dark aged edge there, and you can come in a little bit after you do your edges. And it's a great way to age or vintage-fy paper as well. I will say one thing though, if you have asthma or are sensitive to smells, be aware that the shoe polish does smell, and you may want to use it outside or definitely in a well-ventilated room. And I can never get it closed. And there we go. So shoe polish is a great way, but it does smell. Just keep that in mind. A way that I like is using watercolors, because one, there's a large selection of browns in an inexpensive palette like this. I got this off of Amazon. Very, very inexpensive. And it's just watercolor paint. So you mix, of course, you have your water and your paintbrush, and you just dab it in, and then you paint it on, and it looks exactly the same. And with the watercolor, you get that kind of crinkly look to it with the waves and stuff that you don't get with the inks, because you're applying water to this and it has to dry, just like when you apply the coffee to whatever paper. It gets it wet, so it has to dry. So the watercolor gives you that texture as well as the look for it. Now, you can always, if you want to vintage-fy age paper, you can always just look for old paper. Get aged paper. These are from a vintage cookbook, and it has the aging around the edges, the browning, and it's great. And it's all natural. It happened itself, over years. So this is another way. Just go look for an old book and use real vintage paper if you're really opposed to coffee staining. And guys, hint, hint, vintage cookbook journal coming up. Stay tuned for that. Now, after you get your index cards aged, whichever way you're going to age them, then you need to decorate them. So how would you go about that? Well, I've done a lot of altering index cards. So just search my channel for that and you'll find them. But I wanted to say, besides aging or making vintage looking papers, you can also do that with ephemera. This is some ephemera, I think, from Tim Holtz. And it's already aged on the front, but guess what? When you flip it over on the back, it's nice and bright and white. And if you're going to have it loose, or maybe somebody can see the back, you definitely want to age this as well. And any of the processes, including coffee dyeing, works. So what I like to do is just come on the back with my ink or my shoe polish and kind of make it the back look not so bright white and age it up just like he's done on the front. And I also like to kind of come around and get the edges too, just to make sure it looks nice and vintage. Because if I'm creating a vintage look, I want every piece of it to be vintage. So there you can see the difference now. And that was just using ink and shoe polish, but you can definitely see a difference. So, and the reason you want to use vintage on vintage on vintage, or the look, the aged look, is because it just creates a more concise look in product, you know, a journaling card. So I have some dictionary paper that I coffee dyed, but I left some spots, as you can see, so you get some new and old mix. And what I'm going to do, because sometimes I like that mix, I don't want it to be solid, is I'm just going to tear it. Now you do have a coffee smell too when you coffee dye, and if that you find that unpleasant, then definitely use one of the other methods I just talked about. And then you layer it up like we've talked about in our multiple videos. And I'm layering it with this book page. I think I'm going to throw a little bit of this on there. This is some of the parchment paper that my coffee dye index cards dried on. And again, I'm just ripping because I like the organic ripped look to everything, and I'm just going to kind of throw this on there too. Maybe make it like a little pocket down there. Okay, so this would be my vintage look, and I'm going to throw some lace on and then attach it all real quick. Okay, and I grabbed a piece of aged lace. It's brown because it's just aged. It's vintage, and I'm going to throw it on here as well as just another layer. That'll give us a little different texture than all the aged or vintage papers. Okay, and then this is going to be our look. Whoops, hold on. This is going to be our vintage journaling card pocket look for this index card. So I'm going to attach all this, and then we'll come back and get a sneak peek of it and kind of look to see how it would look on in a journal. First, let's put this down, but we'll make this. Okay, so I'm gluing the parchment paper down first, but I'm gluing only the edges. I want it to be like a little pocket. So I glued just the edges down, then I'm going to come in and glue the dictionary page. Again, it's all been aged using, all of this was coffee dyed, but again, you could use definitely one of the other methods I talked about, especially if you are not, you know, you don't want to use food in your journals. I totally get it. Okay, I'm going to throw this lace down here. I'm going to kind of wrinkle it. I want it to have a little ruching to it. So that's just another interest and texture. This is my Tim Holtz ephemera. We didn't age the back of this one, so I'm going to just take my little ink dauber here and go around this real quick and age the back just in case it shows anywhere. I don't want it to look brand new. I want it to match the whole journaling card, pocket, whatever I'm making here. Then I'm going to throw the flower on. That's our bling. That's the last thing. And I have a whole video about how to alter things, talking about base papers and the bling at the top, the frosting. So go check that out if you haven't. Okay, and then there is our finished vintage journaling card. I'm just going to trim off anything hanging over the edge here. Okay. And there we go. There is our finished vintage or aged journaling card that we made. This one used coffee stain paper, but again, you could easily do this with shoe polish, with ink, or with watercolors as well. And it all comes out great. Oh, and don't forget, this is a pocket too, just for fun. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video on how to age or vintagify papers, different papers that you have using these different methods, and staying away from food-based methods, because like I said, I know a lot of people have come over from scrapbooking and they're just not comfortable. Some people just don't like the thought of food products in their journaling, and I get it. So I wanted to give you these options. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure and give it a thumbs up. Also, like I said, lots of great videos coming. I have them all planned from now until the end of the year. You don't want to miss out. A big announcement coming on Thursday. I am so super excited. So I will see you then. Take care and have an awesome day. Oh, and again, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the little bell. Oh, and leave me a comment down below. What trick do you use to age or vintagify your papers? Are you going to try one of the ones you saw today? Take care. Bye.